Hello? Beep, 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 beep. Hello? Now listen, before you start lambasting me for the fact that you're seeing me again, it's supposed to be my birthday and I'm supposed to be having some time off, right? After I had a delicious birthday gift this morning, which I spent ages laughing about and I'm still giggling about, and lo and behold, along comes another. I'm like, oh my God, yes, this simply can't wait. So I'm going to do it, and this will be the last for a few days, all right? I promise you. You won't see me for a while unless something good like this comes up again. This is absolutely astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. Now, if you've got people that you know, loved ones, all that sort of stuff, people that you know who you're fond of, and they won't believe a damn word you say, show them this. This is an open letter to Parliament from the open wound crowd, right? So it's called Trans Rights Now. Dear members of Parliament, we are writing to you with the hope that you will see the injustices being done and finally take a stand against the removal of the rights that trans people in the UK currently have access to. They don't mention what rights they are. Silence and inaction is no longer an option and will be taken as an indication of a hostility towards the transgender community. Hostility towards cross-dressing fetishistic men, people that want to abuse and mutilate children, homophobes that want to practice trans in the gay way. You bet there's hostility, you unbelievable wazzocks, right? Okay. The illegitimate Hodge ruling, right? So the Supreme Court ruling is illegitimate. The illegitimate Hodge ruling, there's another word for illegitimate, isn't it? What do they call it? Oh, that's what you are, right? From the Supreme Court last week was the final step. Was the final step too far? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Was the final step too far? A ruling conducted by a judge with a known anti-LGBT history. You see again there, they've got to put the LGBT in. Fueled by his religious beliefs, who flatly denied trans people a voice in the hearing with the deliberate intention of overstepping his traditional boundaries. A ruling that blatantly lied about the application of how sex was defined in the Equality Act 2010 and was done so in the service of a corrupt establishment intent on destroying the lives of transgender people in the UK. That's not the establishment, that's me. Right, okay, the whole ruling is beyond corrupt and represents a gross miscarriage of justice that needs to be independently investigated by the International. They're going to drag Keir Starmer to the Hague. Oh, God. Oh, we're going to call it Trannyberg. This ruling is already being used far beyond its own stated restrictions of applicability to effectively render both legal gender recognition and the Equality Act completely worthless when it comes to protecting men dressed as women. Being pushed by the transphobic head of the discredited and laughably named Equality and Human Rights Commission, aided and abetted by known transphobic activist commissioners on this board, primarily Alistair Henderson and Aqua Reindorf. It's absolutely the insane ramblings of a lunatic. This one flew over the cuckoo's nest, didn't it? We will state plainly, this ruling effectively means transgender people cannot live our lives in the UK at all and illegitimately overrides the ECHR court ruling of Goodwin versus UK, which forced the then Labour government to enact the Gender Recognition Act 2004. Gosh, we have to forget this was forced on us by the Europeans. Yep, we're going to undo that too next. So, keep crying into your cereal. This and the previous governments have already had a long and sordid history of abusing transgender people while claiming we deserve dignity and respect, while your policies and refusal to act actively harm and kill us. Kill us! It's the policies. What type of policy is this? It must be a constructivist policy. You write it down, it comes alive and starts killing people. This and multiple previous governments are guilty of breaching public sector equality duty, the Nolan Principles, the Equality Act 2010, and the Human Rights Act, as well as multiple breaches of UN human rights principles and rights of the child, relegating the UK's transgender citizens to the status of third-class unpersons, and we will no longer stand for these abuses. Well, it's just, this is surreal on a level that's just, trans is a made-up thing, right? It's a made-up identity. It's a made-up identity in order to garner victimhood status so that you can enable people who are either A, mentally ill, or B, fetishists to wander around in public with their badoobies dangling. There was some bloke said something about women will never know what it's like to be a proper woman until they're dressed in a skirt in a windy alley or something. Just men wanting to have their just men wanting to have their clackers sort of dusted by the wind. It's absolutely insane. This is incredible. You may have noted the peaceful demonstration against the ruling. What? Which were conducted over the Easter weekend. The demonstration in London alone was estimated to be attended by more than 25,000 idiots. People, sorry. Oh. As a community, you're not a community. We're now going prepared to limit ourselves to discussion on the issues affecting us, issues that have not been long too ignored by the government, and abusive political parties who believe they can ride roughshod over our lives. Somebody needs to find this bloke and make an intervention. It's just insane. The previous status quo was a compromise we tolerated out of fear. That ends now, since even those meagre protections are now being stripped away by a handful of people who hate us beyond reason. No, we just hate the fact that you practice your fetish in public, that you want to harm gay and lesbian children, that you practice conversion therapy. It just goes on and on. That you invaded women's spaces, that you tend to sort of run roughshod over the NHS so you can get titty skittles and fondle your own breasts during states of onanism. Yeah, that's why. Okay, that's why. Oh God. They are now presenting a list of non-negotiable demands for immediate action. This is it. What you're seeing here is the result of EDI DEI elevating a priestly class. Elevating a priestly class. This is what you're seeing the results of, and this is what they asked for. And as usual, hard left, neoliberal, straight to the totalitarian demands. And here they come, folks. The GRA 2004 must be amended with immediate effect to allow for legal self-declaration of gender without the need for a medical diagnosis or reports. This should also include full legal recognition for non-binary, intersex people and under 18s, complete removal of the spousal veto, and deletion of the list of GRC holders. It's a fetishist dream, this, isn't it? That's what it is. Removal of all sex or gender-based exemptions from the Equality Act 2010 in relation to gender reassignment. So in other words, they've got to be treated as women. Addition of restrictions to the protected characteristic of religion belief to ensure that this avenue can never be used to strip other protected characteristic of rights ever again. So in other words, you can't even believe they're not women, right? You have to believe it. So what we're going to do is we're going to enforce your beliefs because that's a reasonable and rational thing to do, isn't it? Yeah, who used to do that? Was it Stalin or Mao? I can't. Oh, Hitler. Hitler was pretty good as that as well. His totalitarian, betitted nut jobs. References to sex or gender on marriage applications and certificates should be removed. References to father and mother should be replaced with gender-neutral terms on birth certificates. Driving licenses to cease to encode sex or gender in any form. Passports should offer X as a sex or gender marker option for those who want it. Anti-trans language and rhetoric should be legally classified as hate speech, including the deliberate misgendering of transgender people. This should also include making it illegal for the UK press and media to incite moral panics in order to protect all minority groups from the perpetration of lies, misinformation and disinformation. If this cannot be done as part of regulated hate speech, then it should be enacted as a form of press regulation, which is currently highly inadequate. So let me get this right? You want to have hate speech laws that make it hate speech to tell the truth. If you don't get that this is insane, if you don't get that every workplace that is doing this, every individual that pushes it is equally as insane as they are, then you are insane. If you're listening to this, think, oh, what a funny little bearded, fat, hateful man you are, being so cruel to these terribly, terribly oppressed trans women. Get in the bin. Right, here we go. Hate groups such as Sex Matters, LGBT Alliance and for Women in Scotland should be labelled by the government as such and stripped of charity status. It is literally totalitarian. It is literally totalitarian. They are absolutely insane, and they're insane because they are insane. Narcissistic, cluster B, lunatics. Gender-neutral facilities to be required in all public buildings for those who want them. Right, so if they don't want them, they don't have to have them. What does that mean? The rights of binary trans men and trans women, and so there's now binary and non-binary people, and non-binary people to use all single-sex spaces that align with our experience, sex, or gender, or what we feel most comfortable in. Well, that's right. That's that South Park thing, isn't it? Right, I'm trans. Right, do what you want all the time, whenever you fancy. That's nuts. A legal right to gender affirmative healthcare on the NHS established, with a legal duty for treatment to be started within the NHS constitutional limit of 18 weeks. This should include the right for under 18s to transition medically and regardless of how their parents feel. Can you see it? The company that you work for that has an EDI or DEI policy that pampers to this is supporting this. Get it? Now, they might have to do it by law, but if they want to lobby for something, they should be lobbying for the government to get rid of the damned GRA and the damned Equality Act, because that's what's caused all of this. All of it. It's utterly insane. You've got to go and have a read. I mean, what else have we got here? Healthcare. The illegitimate and discriminatory ban on puberty blockers reverted immediately. Right. Extension of available gender-affirming treatments on the NHS, including but not limited to breast augmentation, where HRT does not provide sufficient growth. Are they going to measure that? Are they going to have like a titty measurer? That sounds like an actor. Titty measurer. Oh, it was John Le Mesurier, wasn't it, in Dad's Army? They should have Titty Le Mesurier in Trans Army. That's what they're going to do. So, have you got sufficient growth? Have you, Veronica? I don't know. Get the titty measurer. It could actually be a person. Just comes out of a box. No, get the HRT going. 200 hours of electrolysis, facial surgery where desired, ending any gender non-conforming surgeries. These people are absolutely, utterly bloody insane. And if there's anybody you know doesn't see it yet, show them this. If there are organisations that don't get it yet, they need to understand what it is that they're dealing with. The government must act. It must act to repeal the GRA, and it must act to ensure that the public sector equality duty is amended to get rid of equity and anything else that tells you that you have to foster good feelings between the practical. What it should say is you absolutely must put meritocracy, intelligence, talent, and excellence to the front, and everything else can be bloody ignored. The secret to dealing with this in the workplace is not to do any of it. And that's what we must be pushing for next. It absolutely has to go. Because these guys here want a full investigation into the anti-trans politicisation of the Ministry of Justice, the judiciary, and the removal of those involved. They want a full investigation into the anti-trans politicisation of the civil service and the removal of those involved, including the disbanding of so-called sex equality and equity networks. This is the killer. We'll get to the bottom, it says. Transgender people have always existed. We're not going away, and we will not comply with any laws that remove our rights or restrict our lives. Good. We'll have you arrested, locked up, put in an bin. I don't care. Regards, the aggrieved. You are absolutely insane. Insane. Right? And we should do what we've done with the insane all over these years, is we should deal with you so that you don't infect the public with your insanity, which unfortunately you've been allowed to do for years. We need a government that will eliminate all forms of EDI, DEI, and trans bloody nonsense, because it's all the same thing, and we need a government that will do it sooner rather than later. Let's get bloody Starmer out in tosspot. And let's get rid of EDI and DEI. It's just a monstrous, money-making, leftist scam. That's all it is, right? Okay? Happy birthday to me. I'm going away. Ta-da!